benefit of what iTrip offered me was literally, it was all the things that I would have to spend a massive amount of time having to do and no support network. And I really loved iTrip for that. So I decided to take the direction of iTrip. I'm Jennifer Elmore and I own iTrip Lake Texoma. So my journey to iTrip happened because I've been out of the workforce for about 7 years. I became a stay-at-home mom, which was amazing. When my son was a year old, I chose to just stay home with him. But prior to that, I'd worked in finance. I was consulting with like hedge funds and private equity firms regarding regulatory compliance. And prior to that, I actually owned a shoe store and I had a full-time business. So I kind of have this entrepreneurial thing, and I always like very active doing multiple things at a time, but I've had a lot of focus on being a parent, being with my family because they've all moved to where I live. And so I was about that phase where I'm like, I'd like to start doing something again, going back to work. And when I was starting to look for opportunities, a franchise coach reached out to me. And I said, oh, okay. So it wasn't something I really considered. I was considering starting my own business. I didn't know with what. So she presented me what franchising, when you think of franchising, I just had a different idea in mind. And so when I talked to her, she kind of laid out different options for me. And I kind of said, I want something where I can work from home. I have a flexibility with my schedule. I can be an involved parent. And I whittled down a bunch of franchises into 3 and create kind of a funnel effect. And then I slowly got down to 2, and then I got down to basically iTrip. It fit my skill set, it fit my understanding. I had a background in real estate. I've been in property management for almost 20 years with my own properties. I grew up in property management with family running more long-term rentals, but understanding what it takes to own rental properties. I love to travel. The business itself, I did a lot of research, went deep with friends who own short-term rentals, and looked at the options of going solo and doing it myself, or looking at the option of a franchise. And the benefit of what iTrip offered me was literally, it was all the things that I would have to spend a massive amount of time having to do and no support network. And I really loved iTrip for that. So I decided to take the direction of iTrip. When I was looking at options and looking to go back to work, and coming from being a stay-at-home mom, I looked at a lot of full 9-to-5 jobs would take me away from my family, take me away from home, and being present when I choose to be present, not having the flexibility in my schedule. And I've had that, and I've been able to be at all the things, and I didn't want this rigid change in my child's life where all of a sudden mom can't be there or mom has to travel. I wanted to have this flexibility. And so really it did lead me to iTrip because I wanted to be the one who chose when and where and how I will be present. And I can adjust my day around the schedule I currently have. Yeah, it's a little bit more work. But that's what, being a parent is. It's always a little bit more work. So when I considered my options, I also thought, well, I can either go work for somebody else 9 to 5 and be away from my family, and I'm not building something for me or my family, or I could invest in myself and invest in a business that I'm actually building for my family that can benefit us in the long run. So that was a big decision maker for me, is having that flexibility, building something for my family, and having that be part of my retirement plan and parenting schedule and all those things that just worked into it, that it wasn't for somebody else and it wasn't creating value for somebody else and expending my value. It was literally everything I pour into this business, I choose to do, and I'm doing it for me and my family. It's not for somebody else's business. Having my son watch mommy work or be part of the process is so important for me. So I worked for over 20 years before I chose to take a step back from my corporate, role in business. I was a vice president in consulting. And so he never saw that side of me. He only, when he was a baby, but he didn't see that side of me. And for me, it's really important that he sees his mom as kind of like a boss. Mommy's capable of doing these things. I'm also really excited because with the business, I can include him with it. I fully expect him to be by my side. This summer, I want him with me. If I'm walking a house, I had to go walk a house the other day, and I literally handed him the camera and said, "You're my cameraman." he's capable, he listens well, he's really interested, he held my clipboard, he had the camera in his hand, and he was my sidekick. I think it also just instills the value of a work ethic and how work can also be fun. And I look forward to him being a little bit older and actually giving him tasks within the business, because the way I see it, the best way for him to learn how to work is to learn how to work within the business. I can guide him how to be professional and engage with other people and teach him the customer service rather than having to go work for somebody else down the road. He can be my employee. So I look forward to having him be one of my employees in another couple of years. But for now, he can just be my assistant. I really didn't expect how amazing the training process would be so far. It's a massive amount of information, but it is so individualized and one-on-one. I think that was very surprising. For me. I didn't have an expectation, but I find that a very pleasantly surprising. And the support that I've found in trying to build my business, I do truly feel like there's like hand-holding there. Like, you're told that, but again, I didn't have the expectation that it might not be at that level. And not only that, but I would say the relationships you form with corporate aren't just surface level. They're actually deeper than that. So you actually become friends with everybody, which is a pleasant surprise. Like, I really have learned in life not to expect things, because it's too easy to be, well, I expected this and I expected that. And then you always have that penchant for just being slightly disappointed. But when you go into something with very little or no expectation, it's so easy to be pleasantly overwhelmed. So I often enjoy that experience. That's just my perspective on life. But it's been really nice because it's not just like we're buttoned up. So one of the reasons I chose iTrip was because I had an understanding that it's going to be a tremendous amount of work to get myself to a sustainable growth business that I don't have to be part of day to day. But I expect for the next 18 to 24 months that this will be my grind. I need to set a schedule. I need to be on it. I'll have a lot of hats to wear and a lot of work to do. But I know that if I put the work in now, I will have the payoff later. I've talked to several other franchisees about this and asked them what their first 2 to 3 years look like versus their 5-year mark. And a lot of them said it allowed me the flexibility down the road. Yes, I still run my business, but I'm not the pivotal person in my business. And so my goal is in another 5 years that I am not the person that is the sole person who knows everything in my business, that I have a team that I've built around me that I can rely on, and that this business will continue to grow, and I'm not the one who has to be in the day-to-day. I can oversee it and manage it from a higher level.